There we go. Is that working? Yes. So we just had a fantastic panel which gave us a much larger, broader overview of the challenges pre and post Sandy. I'm delighted to moderate here with, in some ways, really the people who are part of where the rubber meets the road, the real implementers, the micromanagers that are dealing with the problems in particular neighborhoods, particular communities, and think about the challenges of maintaining that capacity in the world of lack of financing, political discussions that we've seen that I spoke about earlier today. And so I think this panel is really is a group that can and must inform implementation of how do you sustain, how do you end up delivering for the community on your vision, because this is.
I've been provided this wonderful visual right over here. That's the Hoboken Waterfront behind you. But by the 1980s, the waterfront industries that had once flourished on the Hudson River waterfront, from Jersey City all the way up to the GW Bridge, had virtually disappeared. And there were hundreds of acres of abandoned, derelict waterfront ripe for redevelopment. So in 1990, the City of Hoboken and the Port Authority proposed a massive development on Hoboken's South Waterfront. It included a 33-story office complex on Pier A, which is now a public park, and 500,000 square feet of residential development on Pier C, which is also a park now. We defeated this proposal in a public referendum in 1990. And after that, we formed the Fund for a Better Waterfront. And our first task was to create a vision for what could happen on Hoboken's waterfront, because our municipality had failed to do so. Now, I had no idea what constituted a good plan for our waterfront, but we had the good fortune of hiring a planner and architect, Craig Whitaker, who had an acute understanding of urban design. So we came up with a plan, the centerpiece of which was a continuous public waterfront park from one end of town to the other. An extended public street grid provided Hoboken-sized blocks for new development, and the last street at the waterfront, Sinatra Drive, became our line in the sand. We said the new development is to take place on those upland blocks, and when you cross Sinatra Drive, you enter the public realm. You enter a public waterfront park. So in short order, we had our plan, a two-dimensional plan. We wrote 2 books. We built a 12-foot by 4-foot architectural model. There it is. And so anyway, here's the one book, Reclaiming the Waterfront, a planning guide for waterfront municipalities. We sent this to all the elected officials up and down the Jersey waterfront, and also to all the planning board members. And I figured, okay, that takes care of that. They'll read our book, they'll know what to do, and then we're going to end up with this stellar waterfront from along the so-called New Jersey Gold Coast, from Jersey City up to the GW Bridge. In the years ahead, we watched the development of this waterfront unfold, and typically developers drove the process. We saw one private enclave after another being erected with guardhouses, gates, fences. The private development typically abutted the state-mandated public walkway, and it made it difficult to access. There was not a clear separation between the public and private. So when people go out there, yeah, they know it's a public walk, but it doesn't feel like a truly public space, like a public park. which is what we were aiming to achieve. So the exception was Hoboken. In 1992, we won a second referendum. And in 1995, the city of Hoboken adopted a redevelopment plan that embraced nearly all of the principles that we have been advocating. It's now been built. It serves as a model for other communities to emulate. We have a beautifully landscaped waterfront park at the South Waterfront, and it's received numerous awards. Now, the state of New Jersey has granted tremendous planning powers to municipalities. They can adopt official maps, thereby mapping the public streets. They can create redevelopment zones. They can designate what's going to be public space, what's going to be privately developed. So there was this grand opportunity for all the municipalities up and down, Jersey City, Hoboken, Weehawken, West New York, all the way up to Edgewater, New Jersey. The one community that took advantage was Hoboken, and this was due largely to the fact that we had initiated this plan. We have advocated for good planning and urban design and a public waterfront park. And so Hoboken was able to take advantage of this tremendous opportunity that was presented. But our work is not over. Right now we're trying to fix a number of problems at the central waterfront. We're trying to establish a working relationship with the city of Hoboken. Even with a new crop of political leaders, I have to say it's not as easy as we had hoped, but we're persisting, and hopefully we're going to end up with a successful result. Now, I just want to mention three things in terms of the resiliency issue. Of course, we had no idea that Sandy was coming, and I had no memory of any surge before coming into Hoboken. So when we were doing the planning process, we really weren't thinking about those issues. But it turns out there were three things that worked to our advantage on the waterfront. One was creating the waterfront park. The further back you put the private development, the safer it is. So you have a buffer in the public park, the public street at the waterfront. The further back the buildings are set, the more protection they're provided. The second thing is the elevation. I guess I'm stating the obvious. The fact is that both at the north and the south waterfront, it was built to a high enough elevation so that when the Sandy surge came, the damage to buildings at the waterfront was minimal. The main problem in Hoboken was it breached at the south and north end of town and filled up the town with like a bathtub, and 75% of the town was flooded. Tremendous damage out farthest away from the river on the west side of town. And then the third thing, and I think this is really a wonderful feature about the South Waterfront, we had some landscape architects. Henry Arnold deserves special credit here for putting 3 feet of, it's a soilless mix, it's an expanded shale, very lightweight medium for the 200 trees for this waterfront park to grow in. They quickly established themselves, and when the surge came over the Pire Park and the promenade, nearly all of them survived. But we had some other examples, Pier C Park, which was not part of the Henry Arnold landscape design. Maxwell Place Park, tremendous damage. Pier C Park, it took 9 months to make all the repairs. So that's a cautionary tale as to how not to design a waterfront park.
Thanks.